Hi everybody. Let's all right. So here's the deal that Mr. Drusi and I are currently dealing with. It does look like there's actually a few people watching live. Great. Hi. How's everything? Um, so the issue is that, and we've talked about this before, that um, I'll just go ahead
Click
and
on your
show.
29 Sorry, I was going to
Oh yeah.
explain the how to see progress on it, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah. I'll go back a second. So the um, create task unit is um, set up like a unit, and I really don't want it has it set up so that you actually complete your create task in this lesson 3 of the unit bubble 2, but I'm worried that people are going to do it there, and then um, we open up like the explore task unit and they won't be able to access it. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and uh, close it off, or assign unit 5 so that you can still see those lessons, all those lessons we did in unit 5. So if you need to remember how, you know, variables work or loops work or whatever, you can still get to it. But if, well, let's see how, Mr. Drusi, how do you, I'm going to have to slide it off the screen, but um, where does one go?
Dashboard. Go to your dashboard and then click on like 29. Click on the student count,
Okay, yeah, let's do this off stream. You guys can just look at the calendar and enjoy that for a second.
and then you can go to progress or whatever
Oh, yeah,
and see
that's
if anyone is filled out. I think it's bubble. It'd be number 4. No, number 3.
lesson
But
3.
I'll go by
Okay.
levels. Yeah, go by levels and then 3. None of my students have been doing the performance task in this, which is good. So it doesn't really affect my kids. I can see all my.
Oh, it'd be lesson 3, bubble 2,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me see here. Okay, so no one in, which is good. I don't want people to have done this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch my class over now to 5. I just have I know I have some students that need to finish stuff in 5,
Yeah.
um, so this should solve that problem hopefully. Because code.org and I messaged the support people in code and they said it should work, but it obviously does not. So
Well, here's the thing, though. It says that they're not. There's no green dot there, but I don't know if that means that there is no work there. Because, you know what I mean? Like
that
sometimes
is a good yeah,
you
that's a
can
good
do
point. I
work.
think it's because if they don't click next, it doesn't go green, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch it over. Um, in fact, let's let's switch it over now, and then we'll see if anybody says anything. And if somebody says something, then we can switch it back, and we'll switch it back on stream, and then they can say when they've copied everything back. All right, so that is what we're going to do. We are going to go ahead and close off the.
I'm going through and opening all my kids' stuff. So
Okay, so we are going to. I'm just going to go back and assign unit. That's not what I want. Ooh, in development. Assign. I don't know why that's like that.
all right, my class is good. I went through and clicked on every kid, and no one.
I got too many to do that right now live.
Yeah, you have a lot more.
All right, so assign that. And so if you are watching there, well, I don't know how you would hear my voice if you're not watching. Um, if you check after this, there is a chance that the help desk has like figured out how to make it possible for everyone or for people to see um, previously assigned units. Um, but for now, I want to make sure that everybody is doing their performance task in AppLab, the full-on, pure, standalone AppLab environment, design environment. Okay, and so we're gonna try and keep these streams specifically to design, and then we'll have like an answer or a more open discussion type of stream after we finish it. Um, I've thought of some things. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so we have been working on our golf club uh, help app, and so far we've made a slider that changes um, that allows the user to select it's called the lie as the ball lies, the surface the ball is currently sitting on, whether it's a sand pit, uh, the fairway, the short grass, or the rough grass. And the slider has three values, uh, -1, 0, and 1, and we can calculate or add those into the club selecting unit. Right now we just have a list of um, 7 different lengths, which are spread out, and they correspond to 7 different clubs. And we are comparing, at this point, we're not even using this distance list, this distance array. We are just comparing the numbers. We could here put, um, like dists index 0 plus 4, and that would be the same thing as 104 because we have 100. This index 0 is this number right here, but that's just ridiculous. I would like to spend some more time on the design or the user interface elements because your code is going to be based on those things. You need a framework. You need the canvas to, or not canvas. You need the foundation or the frames before you actually build the code. I don't know. There's some building analogy there, but this is designed to be used as an app, on a cell phone. You can see here, or on a smartphone, and I was playing around with it yesterday or the day before, or I don't know, at some point since last time on the phone, and I realized that um, what it actually looks like. Let's put this here and let's go like this. And it's going to open a tab. Okay, so this is what it looks like in your hand. And so it runs. The problem is when you use something, let's see, what does a thumb look like? Let's say that's your thumb. I don't want this to look ridiculous. So there's your thumb. There's the rest of your hand. Is that what a hand looks like? But you'll notice that your thumb, if you're using your thumb as you slide this back and forth, it covers up the awesomeness that we created with the set property. So the way that I thought to fix that is by putting the slider above, or put the slider below the awesome font or size change. Although, I think that still looks pretty good. It sort of looks like it's popping out at you because the you'll notice um, the top of these boxes are all the same, and it is, while the words are centered in each of their text boxes, they're also at the top of that box, and so when they are enlarged, it looks like they're coming forward. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that same thing. But yeah, so that's the thing. And let's see if this updates. If I refresh this, does this correspond exact? Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty cool. This the share link is tied directly to this project. So if you make a change here, you can see what it looks like here. And this is what you're going to use, this share link on your computer. There were a couple questions about this previously about how we're actually going to do like capture, and the simplest thing to do, it would be to literally hold your phone nice and square and well, probably have somebody else, operate the app while you um, while you use it, and that video file would be what you hand in. That's like the bare minimum, super easy. Everyone should be able to do that. But we'll talk about how to do it. Again, I'm getting distracted. Let's focus on this. All right, so the other thing that I was thinking of, let's remix. This one is slider. We don't have a loop for this yet. This is slider, still if else. Text slider, if else. And it's up to you if you want to do continual remixes to sort of like as save points in case you ruin something, or accidentally delete things or go a direction you don't want. But I'm going to remix every sort of major change that we do. Okay, so what I thought would be fun is actually, instead of using a slider, use radio buttons. Now, you may see radio buttons, or you will be familiar with a radio button and not even known it was called a radio button. Okay, so a radio button in design is a button that you can only choose one of the options. Okay, in a checkbox, you can choose, it is an interface where the user can choose however many they want. In a radio button, you can only choose one. When you choose this one, it unselects that one. And those of you who don't know where it comes from, is old radios in anywhere, but most recently in cars, and by recently I mean cars built in the 80s. The slider, what would you call this? The selector, the dial that would go back and forth, you would have buttons that you would like literally press in, and it would mechanically shift the selector over. If you pressed one, it would go to that station that you set, but then if you pressed another one, it would go to the other one. You could only have one selected at a time. You can't have this slider go to multiple stations, and these are all that. But the point of it is that a radio button is means you can only select one. And I want to use this was I think Mr. DeRussi's idea from before. Instead of having them type in a number, use a slider to input distance, and we can use radio buttons to choose the lie of the surface the ball is standing on, because it sort of makes more sense from an interface standpoint. Is the distance that you're going to input, remember the distance from the hole is what we're interested in, that is on a continuum from, we're going from 100 yards all the way up to, say, 200 yards, and it could be anything in between there. We only have three options for the surface that it's lined on, and we can choose one of those three, and it makes more sense to have a slider for the distance. Does that um, make sense to you, Mr. Drusi?
Yeah.
I mean, it was your idea for the slider, at least. So this is part of the reason why I remixed it, was because I'm kind of blow this one up here in a second. This is going to be radio buttons. And so here's the other thing, is that I'm not entirely sure how these work. I know that they work, but they do need to obviously be grouped, because you could have, and we're not going to, but you could have these three, you could have another set of radio buttons that you want to be exclusive, for lack of a better term, to be tied together. I guess they need to be a little bigger. And then these three tied together. So that's why they have a group ID. Let's, where do you select this that it will? Yeah, so we only want one. And we only want one set. Let's make it the next, there needs to be, looks like there's a good snap for this, and my instinct is to have radio buttons be oh, these aren't centered. I prefer this to be dimensioned on center, but my instinct is to have radio buttons be vertical. Doesn't that seem more in line with standard? Let's try this. Also, if you're using this like an app, which is essentially what we are designing, is an app, you're probably using it, you know, especially if you're using it on the golf course, you are probably going to be using one-handed, and like with your left thumb. That is not lined up. How is that not lined up? Okay, here we just got to type in. We got to hard code this. Okay, we'll call this sand radio button group fly. Let's just go ahead and put these all in the same group. I can't imagine, I don't have an idea for another group, but that's still not a bad idea to line them up. This one is going to be sand. This one is going to be fairway. And this one is going to be rough. And let's, with X, so everything's going to be on X and 325. This one needs to be on 40 and 365. That puts them 20 away. So that would put this one, we need this one to be at 40 and, or 365, 385. Nope, that's not right. What is this one? Oh, okay, 25 to 65, 65 to 405. That looks pretty good. And then we have this one. Let's line up the top of it just to be consistent. And no, I should probably center it. We can play around with this later. Okay, and now we need to go back and code these. So get property. let's see what the code of a radio button looks like. On event, radio SAN button change. Well, first of all, let's double check and make sure. Yeah, so you can see it only lets you do one of them. So instead of on event lie slider input, we are looking for SAN button 1 change. But I don't want change. I want what about, can we do a radio group? What did we call it? We called it Lie Radio Group 1. Are we just going to have to do an if? If, hold on. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we. Oh, okay. So it's going to be true or false. Okay. On saying if God, I should have given these shorter names. Let's see what the syntax is going to be. If equals true. Let's see if this works. Console log. We're just testing the syntax here. Run. No. What is the SAN? It's probably got to be in quotes. Yeah, because look, it's doing subtraction in there. This definitely is going to be a string. Okay, as soon as we get one of these to work. Nope. Maybe this could have been a mistake. Change.
I mean, the slider was working. It looked good.
No, yeah, the slider worked, but that doesn't mean. I also am trying to show that radio. The point of this is to.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. What about click? Does click still work?
So, Mr. Holt, would you describe this as a good instance where you are having difficulties in your programming and your testing and
Absolutely.
and debugging part of the development process?
Absolutely. Thank you for salvaging that one.
As iterative?
This is definitely iterative. Absolutely. Yeah, so we got that. It's just got to be, you can use click and if, well, this isn't going to work because I just got rid of that. Okay, get number. We definitely don't want get number.
I also liked how elegantly the slider used the get number and then add to the club selection with that number. Probably like index plus get number from that would have worked really well.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll have to figure out an idea for the radio button one, but
okay, so this
we'll go from there.
This works. We can also have it use a variable, but we've got it so that at least the properties work. We're going to need 3 separate event handlers, which is fine. We already have the code there for changing properties. This is fairway radio button. This is going to get all of this stuff. And then we need a one for rough. Can you guys hear that? Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so let's go like this, and this should work. Oh, no, screwed something up. Okay, rough labeled. Oh, this is sand. So sand should get this one. This is if rough button, rough radio button. This one is if fair, and this one is if sand radio button. All right, so we're back to where we were a second ago, and let's create a global variable called lie radio value, and 0, and then we're just going to have this. Okay, if the rough button is selected, we are going to add 1, and this is just recreating what we had with -1, 0, and 1. Okay, so for rough, we're going to have it be +1, and this might make sense later. If we do this, it's going to go back to 0, and if we do this, we're going to have it go to -1. So sand, if it's in the sand, and we're planing this out, but we are going to reference however we choose the club based on distance, we're then going to check the value of, we're going to check which one of these are selected, and if it is fairway, we're not going to change the calculated club. If it's sand, we're going to go back 1, and if it's rough, we're going to go forward 1. In other words, 1 more club. But that's going to require not just checking the value of this, but making sure, okay, so if we have sand and have it go -1, if our selected club is this one and we have it go 1 back, it's going to break. So we're going to put that in an algorithm, and that's going to be extra stuff, which is good. So
Add a pitching wedge or sand wedge.
we could, but what if the distance is pitching? Oh, that's true. You could have a club in there that never gets selected, but you could also, what we're going to do is check to see if the result comes out to be the 9-iron, the shortest club, and we have a sand lie, meaning we want the one even shorter, we're going to have an if statement with if selected club does not equal club's index 0, then have it go back 1. Because if it's already club's index 0, we can't have it go back 1. And the same thing for longer. If it's club's index clubs.length -1, or if it's not the last one, go 1 more. So this is a good another good opportunity for algorithms. Okay, let's call this check live radio, and that means we need to, this is where we're going to calculate what we need to do. Switch to input screen. We don't need lie slide or anything. Let's put our 3 event handlers in our event handler section. And let's give it some comment. Radio radio budget to select lie. Okay, so we have a function. I wish I could zoom out, maybe like this. We have our let's do, I want some more definition here. Nope, that's not what I want. And I definitely recommend doing, organizing the areas of your code just to, I'm sorry, I gotta do this. Just to make sure that, just to keep things organized. That was a little redundant, but whatever. Okay, so we have, this was from before, our goals with parameters. I think this is all going to be overkill. I don't think we need this. We may switch our long if-else statement to a loop, but that might be too much, especially if we're checking for trying to figure out which one it's closer to. So we have this. Let's before I forget, there was something that I wanted to do. Let's clear and reset. Okay, so I want a function here that anytime something is calculated, the other things are reset so that you don't have you don't come back to a screen and have the previous values there. We can talk about that later. But I do want there to be resets all values and inputs. Okay, and we need to figure out when to call that. It's probably going to be called, it's definitely going to be called whenever the screen situation is, whenever we switch screens, we will probably reset the previous one, but we'll deal with that later. All right, so we also need, the thing that we changed or decided to change was to have the input be a slider, and so we need a slider, and as from before, recall that whenever you have a slider and you're expecting somebody to use it with their thumb, you want them to be able to see the changes they're making above it. So what I want is a text area that is going to show the user what value they've put in based on the slider, and the sliders properties, we'll call this one dist slider, not dat slider, dist slider, and we want its values to be from 100 to, what was our highest one? 100 to 180, and well, we could have 100 to 200. In fact, we could have 50. It doesn't have to be one of these because the way we are checking the input, it doesn't have to be exactly one of these because we're checking for any value. And let's have our step size be 1, it's completely unnecessary, but um, it should slide things back and forth. And just so I can math better, we'll have the starting value be 150 because that's halfway in between. And let's go back and we need to user distant get number of um, what do we call it? Disk slider. And we also need, I want this to update as we go, just so it, let's put this back up here. Well, it's above it on the screen. Disk slider, do we have change? And we're going to set this text box, set text of, do we call this thing? I don't think we called it a thing. Dist input text area. And so we want to dist input exterior, and we want it to be, what did we call it before? So it's get number. Get, I pass it? I must have. Get image, get number of dist slider. Set text of dist input text. No, wait. Now let's put this here. And on that change, I think this should work. No. Okay. On event dist slider changes, set text of the text area to the value of the slider. I would love if it would, I don't think I can get it to update as it, I would love for it to be like a scroll thing. Do you know, like continuously, like, and you could even put in a sound. Change click. Nope, it's not going to be a key down. Input. I don't think it's input. Oh, that's nice. That's good. That makes me happy. Okay. Wow. Oh my god, and it still works.
Voice.
Wow. I am completely pleased with myself right now. Let's, that makes me really happy. Let's tighten this up and maybe right justify or right align. And is that big enough? Whoop, that's not how things work. Run. Well, that's definitely too big. I mean, too small. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, and we need a starting text. What was our starting text? 150. And our starting location. Wow, this is coming together, I would say. We could even add some more clubs here. But there's got to be a way to live radio value input. Okay. All right. So let's. I am very, very self-satisfied. Let's add the function where you go So let's say if I have, well, okay, we do need to do the change thing. Um, where first let's do the cleanup thing. Where okay, so if I have an input, a radio button, and I hit club selection, great, it gives me club. When I go back to input, I want this to be back to centered and back to fairway. So in our cleanup, we want to um, do some set properties. Set property of um, do we have to do it for each one? Sand radio button checked false. God, we gotta do this for each one. Actually, this is gonna be a fair radio button true and rough radio button false. So if I have it set to sand and a distance, and we hit club selection, it gives us a club. We go back here. Oh, I haven't called this function. So when we click on, so far our input screen button, it's this one. Okay, so we want to, well, we don't have this. Oh yeah, we should change this. Set the text of dist input. Dist input text area to 150. Input, set it to input screen, and let's call the function. Let's put all this in this function because we're only going to need to call it, and actually we can call it anywhere. It doesn't matter if we call it when we go to club selection because we won't be able to see it, but it will still be changed. And we need to call this function. We need to invoke the function clear and reset when we click on the input button because it that's when we need it to happen. Okay, so we'll run. Let's give it a distance. Change this. Club selection. Go back. Oh no, we need to set the property of the slider in our clear. You can see set property is like the most powerful thing here. It can do almost anything because they all have properties. This slider value to 150. I think that might work. Let's go here, here, club selection, input distance. Beautiful. Okay, so lie slider value. Well, we don't need check lie radio. Okay. Okay, so we can use check lie radio button, check lie radio, as our function that adds one or selects or takes one back. Yeah, so we're going to use a parameter. We're going to send this function output club. Okay, so whatever this long if else statement tells us, or tells the program what club to choose, and we're setting it to output club. But before we set the text of this area right here, we want to check which radio button is selected and adjust it, but it's more than just +1 or -1, we need to double check that it doesn't exceed the edges of our list of clubs. So we're going to send our function check lie radio button is getting sent a parameter, and we need to receive that parameter. This could be called anything. It doesn't have to be called the same thing. And let's just use it. Let's call it current club, initial club. Doesn't really matter. Current club selected. I don't know. This could be anything. Okay, but this is going to work like a parameter. Or excuse me, it is a parameter. It's going to work like a variable. Let's go up here. It says it's not called yet. Check function check live radio. Check live radio. Oh, maybe maybe it's something else. Okay, so we need a output club. We're changing, reassigning output club. So output club, we're going to call it here in about 10 minutes just so, but let's see if we can finish it here. Output club gets itself, we want to change it to itself plus this value right here, lie radio value. But radio value, nope. Want to send it output club equals this value or club's index if then okay, so we're going to change it. Okay, so we're getting this current club selection, and just to use in a second, our goal is to either add a club or remove a club. And so this could work. All right, so let's first, I don't want to run clear and reset just because I want to prove something is happening. So let's see if this works. We're gonna run. Oh, I should have this selected at the beginning. Run fairway club selection. Shoot. No, this is what I'm. Output club gets club. Am I misspelling it? Oh, output club needs to be the global. There we go. And let's try to run it again. So reset run. We'll choose fairway. It'll go like this. On output, we want to set screen. There's no reason this shouldn't at least set screen. I've broken everything. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've just broken everything. Check live radio.
You're doing a great job showing the problem-solving process here. Your iterative, struggles that you're coming up against. It's all on purpose.
plus output club gets itself plus lie radio value. Oh, here's why. Because output club is the index. Um, output club. Let's call it. This is so sloppy. Um, output index equals 0. And this needs to be a global variable because we're going to change it a couple places. And so, and I don't think I actually need both of these. Oh, this is exactly what we need. We need output club equals 0 because we're going to use it as index, or we're going to reference it. That output is going to be output club index and then whatever number we come up with. Okay, so instead of club's index, because we don't want the variable output club to be the club yet, we are making it we're referencing the slot that we want. Output club equals 5 or gets 5, and output club equals 6. Okay, so output club gets output club plus lie radio value, and then we can set text to output club index. Set it to, no, this is going to be club's index output club. Super confusing. If you're already confused, you are hyper confused right now, but that's okay. Because output club is a variable, so it's a number. Club's index output club. Output club is a variable that we're changing. And first, before we use this thing, this is the whole point of commenting stuff out, is this should still work. Nope, does not work. Why is it not even switching? Set text. It should at least be switching. Nothing works. What did I break? We're not calling clear and reset. Let's get rid of check radio. We're not calling check radio. Clubs index output club. Did I typo something? We're not using dists. This is called club output text area. Input button. There's no reason for this to still not work.
Try refreshing the page real quick. Just to see
yeah.
If,
Good call on that. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so we put in a distance and got a 4 iron. If we go back here, switch it to, oh, well, I haven't, currently not calling the function. Okay, the function is check lie radio, and do we still have that function going? Yes, okay, so this should work. All right, I think we'll go here. The club based on fairway is lie radio value. Did I initiate lie radio val 0? Oh, there we go. Letters count. It actually even told me. Wow. Okay, so based on this 4 iron, we go back here. If I switch it to sand, it should be a 5 iron. Hey! And if I switch it to here, it should be a 3 iron. Hey! Okay, so that works. And that's what we're going to call it for today. Tomorrow, we are going to um, have a check, add a check statement in here where it does not go um, below index 0 or above the last one. Um, and let's put it here. Let's go radio buttons, um, distance, slider. What else did we do today? Clear function and radio buttons for lie, and I think that's it. Okay. Remember, if you have any questions, you can submit it to this form, and we'll get back to you probably. And email is also good, but a little bit slower just because of the way things are. And either way, we will probably see you tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be a stream on Monday, but always check here for times. Okay? Anything else, Mr. DeRusi?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Yep.